Okay, this is David Zierler, Director of the Caltech Heritage Project. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. It's wonderful to be back with Michele Judd, with Professor Tom Prince sitting in the driver's seat. Thank you so much, both.
Yeah, I'm happy to be his sidekick at all times. So.
Tom's the sidekick for this.
No, I'm just
all right, so we're going to pick up last time we left off. You had launched your consultancy business. You're back in California. A month in, your mom sends you this opportunity in the newspaper to work as a consultant for JPL. So just the chronology. What year is this now?
2000.
Okay, 2000. What did the job ad say? What was attractive to you about it?
It was just kind of like a upward feedback, work with executives and their teams, and we're going to do 360-degree feedback on the manager, and then you come in and you help the manager understand their feedback, come up with an action plan, and that's what it was.
And the Mars failures of 98, 99, is that sort of in the background? Is
Not
that what's
really.
informing
Not
this?
for this, I believe. I think this is an ongoing program that they do every once in a while. So
Okay.
I'm sure probably was very helpful, but I don't believe that it was the trigger for it.
Did
so.
you feel this was in your wheelhouse? Would
Oh
this
yeah,
it was.
absolutely. Not even absolutely.
Right.
I give a lot of feedback, and so yeah, it's absolutely in my wheelhouse.
So you come to lab for an interview.
Yeah.
Who do you talk with?
So there's it's HR. It's within human resources, and I think there's 200, and I think I went through this last time. 227 people applied. So.
Right. And you get it, and then administratively, where are you located? Is there like
HR?
So are all of the consultants to JPL housed in HR?
No, but this was considered a human resources. Leadership coaching is considered a human resources skill.
And what's the job? Do you get to define it? Do you get embedded within the lab to see what the issues are, or are you sort of handed a specific project?
So yeah, I'm handed the project, and the project is that leaders can sign up for this. This is one of those things where it was, I think there was maybe one leader who was told they had to have it, but this is generally for people who want to improve their leadership. So you already have a group of people who are interested in improving.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like an entire lab-wide thing. So.
But maybe the obvious question, the self-selected leaders who are interested in this may not be the leaders who are most in need of it?
Perhaps not. Perhaps not. And in fact, I did have some leader, who did it merely to hear good things about themselves because they thought they were the shizzle.
And
they were good, but everybody has a couple of things they can do better.
And what's the interface? Is this one-to-one meetings with the leaders and then you talk to their team?
So it is actually meeting with the leader, doing the 360, describing the project, doing the 360, meeting with the leader, meeting with the team separately, and then meeting together, and then coming up with an action plan that the leader agrees to and the team agrees to.
Okay.
And 360, is that a set format?
Yes. So the 360-degree feedback is you get feedback from your manager, you get feedback from your peers, you get feedback from your the people who report to you, and then feedback from customers or some,
You're recording conversations? You're taking notes?
Nope,
How are you capturing viewpoints?
Yes, no, just all by hand.
Yeah. Tom, are you around lab at this point?
No, I became chief scientist in 2001.
Right.
So I was around the lab, but I was actually beginning to work on the LISA project right about then.
Okay. Would Caltech PIs have been eligible?
No.
This is just lab?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some themes you're hearing, some commonalities that are popping up from all the people you're talking to?
Well, so it's interesting because if there may have been themes, but it was very specific action planning. I think that for the majority of people, they didn't really understand that leadership is a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think they thought as I need to have vision and I need to, set a good example, or I need to, whatever they thought in their mind leadership was. But they didn't really take into account that with every single group, every group is different. And leaders need to understand that, let me back up. The team needs to understand it's also a relationship, and that the leader is doing things sometimes because of how the team themselves are reacting and their behavioral culture, right? So I think culture is a hugely appreciated part of leadership, and setting the culture comes from that leader. And again, you think that the culture above you will also help set you as a leader and go down, but your immediate person that you report to is the culture that you live in.
Now the 360 report, is everybody seeing everyone else's perspective? Is this anonymous?
Well, you know who your manager is.
Right.
And then all the team is aggregated, and the peers all the other stuff is aggregated, so that when they see, don't know who said what. They just see an overview of their feedback.
Okay. So. And then what happens as a result? You present this, then what?
So then we have teams. I have a meeting with, like I said, a meeting with that person, a meeting with their team. We meet together, come up with an action plan, and then everybody agrees to it.
Okay.
So.
And are you there for implementation and monitoring?
So then we set up some follow-up meetings, and I still have follow-up meetings. I just don't get paid for them.
The follow-up meetings never stop.
Well, no, it's just that they really appreciate it, and they said, okay, I have this issue. What do you think? Yeah.
Are you embracing your inner space geek in real time? Are you?
Oh, yeah.
This is not just purely HR. These could be anywhere. You are feeling JPL.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What is that like for you? Are you thinking?
Oh my God, I was just on fire.
Yeah.
It was just, I could not believe that I had this opportunity to be with these incredible people working on this, like, dream projects, rovers and spacecraft, and I mean, it was like, oh my God.
How much of JPL took over your entire consulting bandwidth?
I would say 75%.
Okay.
Because then I would just take vacation on days that I was doing other consulting.
What other kinds of clients did you have?
So, for instance, Menlo Park Police Department, I did diversity and inclusion coaching with them, coaching for City National Bank, some of their executives there. It was just lots of different types of, coaching on giving talks, public speaking, but mostly on how teams worked, because that's what I love to work on. So.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Please.
Yeah, so this was an interesting time, because this was somewhere near the boundary of the Headstone Charles Alachi
right, exactly.
directorship.
Yeah.
And also, as you mentioned, there was the failure, and the aftermath of that, and then the Exploration rovers were coming online, which was a very interesting project. So this was on the Edstone side of the boundary. Okay, so it was Edstone's executive council, at least partially, that would be voluntary.
Right.
So I have a question then. How much of this did you think carried over then to the new executive council that Charles Alachi formed?
I don't know, because it was, at that time, I was coming to a year of the project, and I was about to leave.
Yeah, right.
And so, I don't know. I know that they for sure continued the program later, but I don't know, as far as checking in with
Yeah.
ongoing
To
action
see.
plans. We talked about having the manager above the person which in some case was Ed, but kind of checking in. Here's the action plan for the manager, and check in with them every once in a while,
Yeah.
see how they're doing. So
It's an irresistible contrast to ask you about working with cops and like PhD aerospace engineers. What are the universalities, regardless of background, regardless of politics, life views? Where is it just team building, HR, relationships? Where are the universalities there?
I think it is, for me, it was perspective. Like, for instance, with the Menlo Park Police Department, having them talk about how they thought other people viewed them
Mm-hmm.
versus how they viewed themselves, and the relationship to racial profiling, and that we are all individuals. Even if we are seen as a group, we don't represent, we don't have the exact same perspective or the exact same feeling of that entire group. And so that was very powerful for them. They had never done anything like that.
Sure.
And they were very open to it, which was very gratifying to me. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what ends up happening with them. They called and they wanted to do a follow-up, but by then I was working full-time for, JPL, and I was not going to continue the consulting business.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. What about high pressure? I mean, cops, JPLers, incredibly
It's all
high pressure jobs.
everything for these particular jobs. They're some are life and death, but you would talk to a scientist or an engineer, and that was life or death of their career,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it's all just super, super high pressure.
To
So.
piggyback on Tom's question, you emphasize culture, the culture of JPL. Ed Stone and Charles Alachi
Oh my God!
could
so
not be
different.
more different. Both extraordinarily great in their own ways, but so different in their leadership style and their interpersonal style. Did you feel that? Was that sort of something
yeah.
that permeated with
Yeah.
the people you talked to?
Yes.
What were some things that changed?
I
when
mean, not
Charles
with the
became-
people I talked to, but just because when I was there, it was mostly Ed.
Right.
Right? And by the time that I was wrapping stuff up, Charles hadn't quite, he had started, but it wasn't quite, he was incredibly charismatic, but it wasn't, we hadn't gotten to the point where the CWI had started which is, Charles wants it. There's a,
Have you heard that term?
I have.
Yeah.
I think you told me
Maybe I
CWI.
did.
it's very pervasive.
Right.
So.
Right. When do you start thinking, or are you approached before you start thinking that this might be a full-time career for you?
Oh no, I had already given my I was leaving. The project was done. Everybody had their action plans. We had tag ups and follow-throughs. Talked to the managers about the managers of the managers. We had talked to them. So I'm signing off, and I'm going to go keep consulting. I had been working on taking a huge project elsewhere, and then as I said last time, Ann Tevermina's like, I think you should work with us. So that's what
Were
happened.
you kind of hoping that somebody would whisper that to
No,
you?
I didn't even have any. I didn't have any clue that would happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get this nudge.
Yeah.
Is there a job for you to apply to? Do they create one?
They created one.
What's the job?
Development liaison.
Okay. No such thing as this before.
No.
Okay. Development liaison.
Yeah.
What are you developing? What are you liaisoning
So
with?
I am working with software teams working on autonomous systems, and which I know nothing about. And
This is technical now. This is out of HR.
yes,
This is just Operation Keep Michele with JPL.
it is operation. I see that you could help my teams. I don't know how yet, but we're going to figure it out together.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're on lab at this point. When do
So
you meet first?
When
So August 2001.
Yeah, so I was, I forget exactly when I became chief scientist, but it was right around there. It was 2001.
Okay, so this is pretty relevant. As chief scientist,
Yeah.
are you supposed to be sensitized to the kind of 360 reports that you
I don't think he
created?
knew anything about it.
No,
Okay.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, this would be valuable to you to sort of, inculcate yourself with the culture of JPL. What are people saying? What are the administrative challenges? But no, you don't know anything about this.
No, no.
Okay.
I was basically a professor from campus. I think as I talked to you, Charles knew me because of
Sure.
I was picking with Goddard, or
Right.
Goddard was picking with us on Lisa.
Right.
And so I was in his choice as chief scientist.
Okay.
But-
So what are the circumstances where you waste no time connecting? I mean, August 2001 is like you could have not interacted for years, but it came right away. What was
We
that?
I don't know
We
when
didn't
we
connect
first
until
connected.
after I went to the science division.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was 3 years later.
Yeah.
So
So your first appointment was not in science; it was in.
autonomous systems in the software division.
Okay. So what was the work there? What were you doing?
So I was assigned to work with 6 different teams, but primarily 2 teams that were all 6 of them. I was trying to help them bond as teams, work with their group supervisors, and there were 2 teams I was actually embedded on, which was the Quakesim project and Oasis, and so. But they were all of them were very happy with. We kind of did a kind of overview of autonomy for the lab, and we were doing highlights on each one of the groups, and so they were getting a lot of positive, I would say, exposure, not only within JPL but also with the NASA people, and there was DoD type autonomy projects as well, but really kind of defining what is this group about, what do they do, here are the key deliverables, here is how they work,
So this is relevant to your HR expertise.
Yes.
What are you defining yourself to be sort of in real time? Are you becoming sort of like a systems person?
I just think it was just more about having someone that people could go talk to when they had, I hate to say this, but it was kind of like a combination of Deanna Troi, who was kind of the person to go talk to when there were problems, but you didn't want to talk to anybody else, and a little bit of like the number 1, which is it's the person that the leadership team go to fix things, right? And so I feel like it was a lot about team building and focus and helping the leads understand where their team could take them to, and it was also pretty much just getting a download of what were people feeling and how do we build this whole section of multiple groups to feel like they were connected. And that section felt connected. When I left and I went to the science division, they felt very, very, they were all of them, that section was tight.
And by design, are you sort of like minister without portfolio where you can float from one team
Yes,
to
I
the
went
other?
to all the teams, but there were 2 that they really had some potential to move forward with NASA, and those were the ones I worked the most with.
And what's the reporting structure? You're hearing all of these things, you're systemizing what you're hearing. What are you...
Section manager
Okay.
and deputy section manager.
Okay. And what are the missions that these teams are attached to? What's the big project?
So this is more research. It's foundational research in AI, machine learning, machine vision, quantum computing. So I mean, it was very much the research arm.
Okay.
And so
that could be attached to whatever the relevant mission
in the
is.
future, but it was all about low TRL, technology readiness level, foundational research. So this is where the valley of death comes in.
Yeah.
Because you come up with the ideas and trying to get them to push through so that a mission picks them up. That's the toughest thing you could possibly do.
Are you drawing on your technical expertise from the oil and gas world? Is that relevant here at all?
I think the systematic thinking of an engineer, yes. But I was because I don't know about software, but I was primarily focused on helping them define what was their mission? What were they trying to achieve? How does this particular team work? How does this particular, all the teams, they were very different, very different. The quantum computing group was different again and again and again. They were way out there, but I still have lifelong friends from that group. So,
go ahead, please.
Good question. So, there's always this tension between the divisions and the directorates.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
So, how was that? How did you perceive that, and how was that perceived within the divisions at that time, which was this interesting boundary?
Yeah. So this was less mission related, right? So there was less directorate, kind of influence versus what I saw with the science division.
But as certainly what I perceived in the science division was, in some sense, feeling like they were second-class citizens a lot of times because they weren't part of the mission. The missions had priority.
Yeah,
and
everybody felt that.
Yeah.
Everybody who was in foundational research, that if you weren't on a mission, you were kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could be here, but
Or better yet, what are you doing here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Michele, what sense did you get of the triangle of Caltech and NASA and JPL in this organization? You're working in a highly technical area now. You're working closely with engineers. Where is Caltech?
I will tell you
NASA?
as we discussed the last time, JPL is a very arrogant organization, but they have reason to be arrogant. They are the absolute best systems engineers, bar none, at the time. I'm sure that some of that expertise has gone elsewhere as JPL people have left and taken that as well. But, there has always been again, Caltech, whatever, it's on my check. They're always putting some administrative thing on us that we have to do. They're just, whatever. And NASA, they just need to understand better what JPL does. We have to do this. I don't know why they don't get it, but.
So if not for the money and the management, JPL would be just fine all by itself.
I'm just telling you what the culture was.
Listen, of course,
it's just.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Has that changed over the years?
A little bit. I would say that there's more understanding of the Caltech connection. I would say that I will not comment on how JPL views NASA.
Although I think you just did. Was there a particular project that ended that prompted your shift to the science division?
No. I think what ended up happening was the deputy section manager became the deputy division manager for science and said, yeah, we need to do what happened there with the scientists.
Okay.
Who was that?
It was Andrea Donnellan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, does this mean that your previous position gets replicated? Because do
They
you
thought-
fix what you needed to fix and you can
No,
move on?
they hired someone else who's a great person, but then that whole division dissolved. So
They couldn't keep it together when
no,
you left?
no, because I was in a section. There was a division of all the software, and that division ended up completely dissolving and being reabsorbed by other divisions. I will say I was super happy that people were fighting over the 367 groups. That they really, no, you need to be in this division. No, you need to be in this. So they were hot commodities. So I was happy with that.
All right, so if you could provide a little org chart overview, the science division, what
Yes.
does that mean at JPL?
So there are many scientists at JPL. About 300 or so are in the science division, but there are radar scientists in 33. There are scientists throughout the entire lab, but the largest single entity of scientists by quite a bit was the science division.
And is that what makes the science division,
Yes.
the critical mass of scientists?
I never
Yeah.
really thought of it. I'd say
Well,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, although I would say that in the other divisions, there were scientists, but they worked on more applied science, instrument science, those sorts of things.
That's true.
Whereas the science division was the place where people did science with either planetary data or astrophysics
Astrophysics or
data
Earth.
whatever. Yeah.
Earth data.
It's sort of like the college of JPL.
No.
No, I
No.
won't say that.
No, it's more like if there is an analogy on campus, it's more like engineering and
PMA
applied
versus
sciences
EAS.
versus geology and planetary sciences and PMA. So in some sense those are science divisions within Caltech, whereas then there's an engineering and applied science, and so I think it's the type of scientists that are more towards engineering who are in the other divisions, and then more the people who did science and not necessarily instrument development or whatever else in the science division. Is that?
Yeah, sure. So the science division got word of what you were doing, and they said, "We need you over here." That was basically how that worked. Are you replicating the game plan? Is it what you were doing all over again? What are you tailoring anew?
Yeah, it is partially, but it was partially that, but also, so again, I think we discussed this last time, making the scientists, man, really, it was forcing them. They were not happy to do a website because we wanted to highlight, and you got to remember, you think about websites today, it's like, well, duh, but in 2004,
Sure.
oh my gosh.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. And so trying to make sure that they were findable by other people around the world so that JPL could be seen that we have killer scientists, great world-class ideas happen at JPL in science. Yes, we are missions. Yes, best engineers in the world. We've also got some really great science. And so it was a combination of that. It was working on the Science 101 lectures. It was working on the research and technology development poster session and trying to get the word out to the entire rest of the lab. Here's the research and technology that we are doing. Come see it so that you can see what the future could be like for JPL. If any of these ideas, these technical or scientific ideas, move forward. It was highlighting the postdocs and the importance of young, early career people that we need to nurture and to keep. Missions take 20 years to come to fruition. And
Hopefully.
Well, yes. And so they take a long time, so we want to make sure these people are also highlighted and seen. We had a science advisory group where we brought science issues, and that's probably one of the first things Tom and I worked on together. That and the RNTD poster session, the postdoc day. So we worked on the science visiting committee together. We worked on, I'm trying to think, there were just a number of different things, the recognition for scientists and technologists, because we wanted to recognize the research arm of JPL with some receptions. I mean, it was working with, we had a bunch of scientists who were foreign nationals, so working on the foreign national advisory group to try and help them become more integrated into JPL. There were many onerous rules for the foreign nationals, and we worked very hard on that. Had a lot of success there.
I don't want to gloss over. So, what was the actual connecting point for the two of you?
It's hard. We'd have to go back because we worked on like four or five things.
So the chief scientist's office is kind of separate from the science division. Although obviously, as chief scientist, I had a lot of interest in the science division and what it was doing, and also just doing whatever to try to improve it. And so that's where Michele then was. I got to know her, got to know that she was extremely effective, and therefore, so for instance, the RTD, the Research and Technology Development, was was my invention at the time as a chief scientist, and that was a whole then machinery that had to be revved up, right? And so you worked on, so Michele then worked on parts of that. So there's no formal connection, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
I would
It's
absolutely say that. And
Yeah.
but I will say there was one moment, and I can't remember when. It was during one of the science advisory groups. And sorry, Tom, that I can't remember what you said, but it was something about. There was just something about what the way Tom said it, the way he led something, and I'm like, I could work for that guy. For me, I was like, that is someone that I would work for, that I would consider partnering with on something, because I truly felt like at that moment, and I wish I could remember what it was. I do remember it was a science advisory group, and it was a very tense discussion about something, and just the way you handled it, and the very, I will say quiet. He stays quiet for a long time, but when he talks, you should listen. Very fact-based, not, me, I'm excited about everything. What? I'm very reactionary. Tom's like, and here's what I think. And everybody just goes, oh, that's a really good point.
Tom, did you have the same feeling, but inverted? Did you say, Michele, somebody I could work for one day, maybe?
Certainly, but I think that it was not a single point in time. I would say it developed over time, having worked with her. So that then when the Keck Institute came along, I knew that she would just be excellent for it. And also I had the feeling that the Keck Institute would be great for her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would never have left KISS. I mean, never have left JPL if it hadn't been for this.
Sure.
I was thrilled. I was happy. I was valued. We were improving the culture in our division. A lot of people would talk to me again. I had this tiny little closet of an office next to the division manager and the deputy division manager, and people would come in. They'd come in after the division manager had left, and they would just sit in my office and talk for an hour or tell me what was going on.
You mentioned the website and the impetus to sort of get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
Was earth science and sustainability part of that messaging in the way that this was important to Charles Alachi, was important about, JPL's unique capabilities of turning the satellites back toward planet Earth? Were people talking about sustainability circa 2003, 2004?
I don't think so. I'm sure it was on the mind of some people, but it wasn't
a core
it wasn't that I remember being some, major thrust. It could have been, but of course, climate change and understanding the Earth was huge.
Yeah. This is Hurricane Katrina. This is an inconvenient truth. This is an inflection point.
Yeah.
Do you the both of you start looking for excuses to collaborate? Does that sort of happen naturally?
We are both so busy. There is it's like I am not looking for more work. I am not looking I am just, and if we're working together, I just find that great things happen. But it wasn't that I was like, hey, Tom, I wish I could find a project to work with you. I'm so damn busy that I can't even barely breathe.
Same with chief scientists.
Yeah.
Right.
Dealing with ethics issues and a huge number.
Okay, so it's a fire hose for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where I don't want to strain a metaphor here, but where's the convergent streams? Where are you connecting?
Yeah,
on all of your busyness.
Yeah, but we're connecting on things that that include the science division and the office of the chief. If any of those things were happening together, I somehow got assigned to work on them.
So a perspective from my viewpoint is I was worried about the science division, okay, and not about the whole science division, but about that there were a number of scientists that were just not happy at all, and it was basically because, in my assessment, they had picked an area of science and weren't nimble enough to migrate into new areas of science where they could be happier at JPL. So JPL had kind of taken those had bypassed those areas of science. And so that created a lot of tension with those people. And,
Is this a limitation on the part of the scientists' nimbleness or the
the
structure of
scientists,
JPL?
The scientists' nimbleness.
Okay.
So they were true, if you will, academics. I am doing this type of research, and I'm very good at it. I'm a leader in my field, and that's what I'm going to continue doing. But I'm not getting any support from JPL to do it. So.
And I have a little bit of a different perspective
Probably,
on that. I agree with you regarding that, but I think there was also, I'm bringing in my own money to do my own thing, like an academic, but I can't get lab space because it's not mission related, or I can't get, I can't get resources that will support my ideas, and JPL's just too stupid to not understand that this is important science, whereas JPL's trying to, and rightly so perhaps, is that, well, we need the type of science that will result in missions.
So in your respective positions, how are you both responsive to this, what sounds like a strategic challenge?
Yeah, in fact, I'll elaborate. I saw three parts of the science division. One was the people that were sort of entrepreneurial, able to get things done within JPL because they went out, they found the resources, they interfaced with missions, they were nimble, they jumped from this to that. So that was one group. And that group, I think, properly, making sure that JPL as a whole, and let's say the engineers, appreciated the value of that group, because there's always this tension between engineers and scientists, right? That was a great group. Okay, so there, my view of that was, let's energize that group and get them well known, and the contributions they're making known in the laboratory. Okay. Then there's a group that Michele just referred to, which was a group that was perhaps less involved with missions, but developing the technology that was needed for missions, okay, in the future. And they weren't getting necessarily the resources they hoped for. That was what research and technology development was all about, okay? So R&TD program, okay? And then there was this other group that I spoke about just a little bit before, which was the group that said, I want to just keep doing my science, and I should be supported within JPL and NASA to do that science. So there was three groups, and each of them had different needs. So that's the way I saw the science division. Is that triplet of things, and then empower the two groups, the entrepreneurs and the people doing important science and instrument development for the next set of missions. And then trying as best as possible to help the one group who were the least happy of the group sort of integrate more with the laboratory, get involved in things that would actually bring them satisfaction.
And this plan, is Tom's plan registering with you? Are you part of the implementation team?
No, I don't think so. I think Tom had his own view of the science division. The science division had their own view of themselves. And we just, there was this overarching view that science was not appreciated at all, and that's what I was focused on.
Okay.
So.
Can I ask a question of Michele?
Sure.
So what did the science division think of me at that time?
Oh, they thought you were great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Come on about that.
No, they thought you were their champion. Yeah. They felt you were their champion.
Yeah.
You got it. You understood what the issue was.
Right. And I'll say, maybe we covered this when you were interviewing me, but that's one place where Charles and I had a difference, is that I thought that he did not pay enough attention to to essentially 3X, the divisions, that he was very mission focused, very much so.
Do you think, being a radar guy, an engineer, that he was just sort of constitutionally focused in one area and not another?
I don't know where. I was always surprised that he didn't take more interest in the divisions. Mm-hmm. But
and
really,
he was the division manager of the science division at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, but so I really don't know why, but it was actually, like I said, I have a feeling that something happened. Maybe it was when he was division manager, or whatever. But he, you could almost tell that he really was much more focused on the directives, the mission directives, than he was on.
All right, so Michele, you've articulated the challenge.
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to point out a little thing is like many people in the science division were in charge of their own funding. It was not like missions. You're an engineer, you get hired to do the avionics. You're an engineer, you get hired to do, thermal. Your material science, whatever it is. But I will say that people in the science division resented the fact that why do I have to pay for a manager? Like, it's siphoned off the top. Why do I have to pay for a manager when they don't manage me? I get my own money. I get, they are very much this, I'm in charge of myself, just stay out of the way, I will manage it. Same thing with support of administrative staff and support. They're like, we're getting double tapped on every single thing because we're bringing money in. So it was trying to manage all that and trying to create, this culture of, science is important, we should be valued. So.
All right, so you've articulated the challenge, but what's your solution to this? What is your role in making this all better?
Well, I mean, we talked about the 5 projects that we have been working on together. And Tom, you started up didn't you start up the SRS Council?
Yeah.
Yeah, and didn't you
Senior
start the fellows?
Yeah, Louis Shaheen had already, that was previous chief scientist, had already had
a fellow,
a postdoc program, and I just, tried to not just keep that going, but actually enlarge that.
No, I'm talking about fellows.
Oh,
fellows.
I did the fellows.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So these are the very senior fellows.
So you could be seen, take me out. I, as an individual contributor, for the very first time, can have input at the very highest levels, either as a senior research scientist on the council, the new council that we had created, that Tom had created, or the fellow, which is the very top echelon of the individual contributor range that could possibly be seen. So, and whereas you could make the same money as a manager, but because of your ginormous brain.
Actually,
I think that's huge.
No, it was huge. I don't think that I did that. I think that already existed.
Okay, but it seriously got amplified while you were there, though. But even the SRS Council.
That was something that I definitely.
Yeah.
And are you taking on additional responsibility and leadership role? Is your trajectory administratively, from science division until the origins of Keck, are you more or less operating in the same role, or are you getting promoted?
No, I don't. I never cared about. All I cared about was making sure that the right thing happened. I'm not I'm behind the scenes. I just want it to work. I don't care who gets credit for what. I just want to have it happen. And the division managers, Tom, everybody knew my contributions, but I really just wanted the right thing to happen, and I just didn't care how it happened.
I'll give you one perspective here, is that I think what Michele said is absolutely right. What I said is, to myself, is why isn't JPL, taking advantage of her, not taking advantage in a bad sense, but all her capabilities. Why aren't they doing that?
So you saw Michele as underutilized.
Yeah, definitely. That's why why I approached her partially, because actually I thought she was underutilized, not in a position. She should have been operating at a much higher level. And once she stepped back from JPL, became Keck Institute director, then then the director's office tried to hire her how many times? I'm back. So that's the level she should have been at. And partially I saw that she wasn't there. And so.
But I was very happy. I was incredibly happy. I loved scientists. I loved connecting them with technologists. I loved, working on the culture and seeing them be successfhave. And I would never have left if this opportunity. This is probably the only thing that I never even imagined. So I couldn't have even imagined. So.
Okay, so now we can get into the origin.
Can I just backtrack?
Please.
one bit of on the science division, since we were concentrating on the science division. The scientists at JPL had a lot of challenges. So first of all, they're not civil servants. Okay, so you go to
they're Caltech employees, in fact.
What's that?
They're Caltech employees.
Right, and they're soft money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So whereas a Goddard person, they're a civil servant, so they're secure.
Yeah.
So a big difference. Second of all, because JPL is a NASA FFRDC, NSF, won't support them, even though they're doing work that NSF would. In fact, I nibbled at that a bit. I got it so that actually JPLers could be supported by NSF, but as long as they weren't PIs. There was a PI from a non-FFRDC. JPLers, though, could get support for their work.
Would it have to be for non-NASA kinds of research, non-space research?
Well, what's the dividing line? Earth sciences, NSF supports Earth sciences, NASA supports Earth sciences.
Yeah.
So you could imagine. So it couldn't be NASA, in big capital letters work, okay? But it could be work that NSF would normally support. They could now get funding as collaborators, co-PIs on an NSF grant. So that's one thing I was able to get done. And I didn't do it, but I found the right people that were passionate about that, and they took care of it.
So I think now we can go into the earliest conversations that lead to KISS.
Right.
Okay, but I just want to make one comment because I've been thinking a lot about this. I truly believe that Tom being able to connect with people in NASA, in NSF, in the Office of Science and Technology Policy, in the very ONB, in the very highest echelon of place. And there's not many people like that, right? Who they will call him for a question and he can just gently ask about something. I think that helped JPL. I think that definitely helped KISS. I just think that was a huge benefit to both of those institutes. So it's just having that ability to do it in a way that is accepted by a lot of people.
As backdrop, Spitzer, IPAC, IRAS, is that a model that you're working off of in terms of conceptualizing administratively what KISS might look like?
No.
What's not relevant there?
So certainly I was very aware of Spitzer, IPAC, all that, but it wasn't a model, because here's different. IPAC, it has scientists that are part of that institution. I think that's how it's based. It has computing facilities. It has all kinds of things that it does. Keck Institute from ground up was the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was to enable groups to do that sort of work, but that it wouldn't have resident scientists. It wouldn't have computing facilities itself. Okay, it would be an enabling institution rather than a doing institution.
Exactly, that's exactly how I would put it. Yeah.
So,
is Michele part of the equation? The first germination thought of what KISS ultimately would be?
So I would say I don't know. My memory isn't that good. It may very well be that I always had in mind once things were developing that I would go to Michele and ask her, if she wanted to be interested in this. That I could easily imagine that would be always a backdrop. But the thing is we have to get the basic idea formulated and get the acceptance that campus wanted to do this, that JPL wanted to do this, and all that rigmarole of proposals and everything else. So.
And so this is where you enter when Tom asks you, would you take a look at
Yeah,
this
this is
proposal?
sure, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
I never even imagined any role whatsoever.
But you, as we discussed last time, you immediately saw this needed more firepower, more people power.
Well, that was my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You took that and said, yeah, well, you can be the person to make that happen.
Yeah, so why did I think of a half-time person? Well, actually, I thought, knowing JPL, that we absolutely needed someone from JPL, okay, to be, part of the Keck Institute. And
Somebody with JPL background, or somebody that
somebody
sat
at
at JPL?
that understood the JPL culture.
Okay.
Okay, because in some sense, I could represent. I knew the campus culture. Needed somebody from JPL that really understood the JPL culture. Okay, so that was almost an essential for me. Okay, but then I didn't think, anybody from the JPL, they would want to still maintain half-time at JPL and then be half-time at the Keck Institute. I never imagined that Michele would say, okay, I'm willing to make the jump all the way over to campus and be totally campus supported.
Well, that's because the other people that applied were not like me at all.
Yeah, there were people, there were scientists.
They were scientists that would want to keep their own research program, that would want to, that would welcome a 50% job, and it's a 2-person job at the time of starting up.
Sure.
There's no way that no.
Now, to clarify the proposal, is this a proposal to secure the Institute, or is this a proposal, we have now secured the funding to launch it, this is the proposal for what the vision of the Institute is?
Well, when I sat down with Michele, the Keck Foundation had approved the proposal.
And he gave me the proposal that they submitted.
So this was happening. Now the question is, what is it going to look like?
Yes, indeed. And who's going to implement it?
All right. Michele says this is a 2-person job.
Well, I mean, it's just so much. It's just.
And Tom says, great, would you be the 2 people? Is that basically
No,
how it
I
happened?
just told, I just said that, there's just no way it could be 50%. And we discussed the last time, who did you want?
So my major job as director was to keep Michele from killing herself by trying to beat 2
It was
people.
really close.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you have the funding to pivot to a full-time position?
Yes.
That was okay?
Yeah, there were some adjustments, but essentially the institute itself was an open receptacle waiting to be filled.
Yeah.
Right, and in fact, many things in the proposal we eventually did differently.
Right. What is the buy-in from Caltech to have this on campus? Is this who needs to authorize this?
David Baltimore was the one that triggered it.
So this obviously is happening before 2006.
Yes.
When he ends his presidency.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
but
Happened at the Murr Landing.
Yes, I think
That was the spark.
Yeah.
The Murr Landing was the spark.
Yeah, I think that.
Why?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Why was that
Because
the spark?
it's
Huge.
there's nothing like this at Caltech. It is a worldwide event. You've got governors, you've got celebrities, you've got you've got congressmen, you've got the mayor. You've got, and you are landing on another planet, and there's just nothing like this at Caltech. And as I understand it, Tom can comment. David Baltimore's like, why are we not doing more things with JPL? Why are we not strengthening this? We could make hay with this.
Mm-hmm.
I will just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. So, Tom.
Yeah. So David then said, I think I mentioned this. Let's put together a joint JPL faculty committee. Okay. To brainstorm how we can bring campus and the lab closer together. By the way, on this, Charles was very amenable to that as well. Charles always, as much as possible, and I did it too, always tried to use the language campus and JPL.
Right.
Okay, whereas JPL always said Caltech.
Yeah, because
Caltech
we're
is
not part of
down
them.
there.
Yeah.
We're not part of them.
Right.
We're not, but Charles was very much in favor of this too. So.
And when did the Keck people become part of the conversation? Right at the beginning? Were you looking widely for potential funders?
I would have to look at that, and probably I didn't have complete visibility of that. But almost, right around the time that the JPL faculty committee gave their recommendations, as far as I know, everything was Keck after that. So I'd have to go back and look, but my guess is that the campus said, okay, it's going to be time to make a major ask of the Keck Foundation, and so here it is. Okay, and so we're going to really focus on this as the major ask. Next major ask.
Was Ed Stone on the board at that time?
What's that?
Was Ed Stone on the board at that time?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where is the transition to Jean-Louis Chameau in all of this?
So that was so Jean was very favorable to this, but he was a new president.
KISS was already launched at this point when the time he became president?
The Keck part of this was already launched. In other words, it was already understood that the Keck Foundation would be the organization that we would ask to fund
Okay.
the center. So that happened. I don't know if that was all. I could easily believe that maybe that's what that David Baltimore already got that ball rolling, but I don't know that for sure.
What about securing real estate on campus? What were those conversations like?
Yeah, well, so once, so we put in a preliminary proposal for the Keck Institute. I don't think you ever saw that.
No, not the preliminary.
And it was short, and they said yes. Okay, well, please bring us a full proposal. So that was a good signal from the Keck Foundation that they were very interested in this. And then then again, I don't know the exact sequence, but sometime during that development of the full proposal was when we started looking then for where the Keck Foundation, where the Keck Institute might be, but there was no conclusion to that. And so we were itinerant then for the first couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But it was obvious that it was going to be on campus and
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah,
JPL.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It wasn't even a question.
Yeah,
Crucial. Okay.
definitely. Yeah, and for many reasons. One is, if nothing else, that
Well, if David Baltimore wants to make hay of this, it doesn't make any sense for it to be a JPL. It has to be a Caltech.
But also, you can't get people onto lab.
Tell me
So,
about it.
yeah, there's just a whole bunch of things. So
Every time I go on lab, I feel like an alien, right?
Because
It's like,
you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Like JPL, my Caltech badge doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
Right, yeah. So another thing though, let's say you wanted to put it at JPL.
Yeah.
NASA would immediately come down on it and say, JPL, you're doing things that directly benefit
Caltech.
Caltech, and that is now banned.
Right.
You cannot be showing favoritism and having some of your resources funneling down to campus.
Right.
So it just couldn't happen. And in fact, one of the things we had to be careful of in our phrasing and our formulation of the proposal was that JPL was not, even with campus being the center, was not going to be able to just funnel
Right.
resources down to campus.
Michele, besides the obvious HR, the human
Mm-hmm.
resources lacking in the proposal, what struck you about the mission, the policy,
Yeah, okay.
the science?
I have to, can I just take a quick bio break? I've just
Yeah.
had so much tea
Yeah.
that
And we're back. Okay, Michele, the question was, what struck you in that proposal, besides the HR limitations, the vision for what KISS would become?
I loved the vision.
What was the vision?
So it was about having a think and do tank that could request challenges from JPL and campus. At the time, it was more JPL campus focused. That could bring the strength of campus, the strength of JPL together to capitalize on the opportunities to think of new kind of just out there ideas with regard to space exploration. And that it was interdisciplinary in nature. It was extended, long interaction periods that may have been split by a week here, do some work, come back for another week or 2 days or 3 days, and have these studies that would put forth ideas. And then there was a do part, so that's the think part, is the study program. The do part, to get us past this valley of death, was come up with ideas from the study, propose them back to the Institute to fund, to try and just get it to the point that NASA, NSF, whomever, because Caltech could get NSF money, right? So the campus could, so that JPL campus could, get ideas past that valley of death, and so that they were palatable to, less risk averse to the funding agencies. And so,
was there a latent frustration between Caltech professors and JPLers who wanted to do this kind of a thing, but there was no administrative infrastructure to make it happen? In other words, was KISS designed to answer an extant need that was out there?
No.
Or did it say, here's a solution and we're confident that people are now going to become activated because it's here?
Almost the last one.
Almost the last one. What's missing from what I suggested?
You use the word confident.
Okay.
I would say there was high potential. It's just like KISS. Very high potential, very high risk.
All right, so let me suggest.
Is that fair?
It was an experiment.
Yeah.
Right, totally experiment. So I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I'm just thinking of it. So SphereX.
Yeah.
So we have Jamie Bach on campus.
Right.
We have Michael Werner at JPL. Many more people, but let's just use the two of them as a JPLer and a Caltech professor.
Right.
In however SphereX came together, would KISS have been relevant in sort of just going from, as Michelle was saying, the think part to the do part? Would that be the kind of mission for which KISS was designed to encourage?
No. No. So SphereX would be the classic campus JPL project.
Classic meaning this is something that is ongoing that wouldn't need something like KISS to start.
Both campus and JPL knew exactly what they wanted to do, and we're going to go ahead and do it. IRAS was that way.
Yeah.
Spitzer that way. New Star that way.
Yeah.
Galax that way. Okay. So some of the missions then, had a standard way of doing this. This was very different. This was, if you want to use the language, low TRL,
ideation,
generation of the ideas, which may grow into eventually those relationships that build a mission together. Okay, and it happened. But at this point, SphereX, no, that was much more of the classical way of campus and JPL.
In fact, I'm going to build on that.
Yeah.
In fact, if you knew what you wanted to do and how to do it, KISS is not the place for you.
Fascinating. So this is wacky idea, no idea what to do with it, want to talk to interesting people, want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
KISS will provide everything.
Yeah, or even not wacky ideas, just really good ideas that don't have another venue to get them energized.
Yeah.
To actually bring them to the point that they could then be proposed to NASA, NSF.
Is Keck's initial gift endowment level? Is KISS self-sustaining
No.
from that initial gift?
No.
What does it do? What does the first check allow to happen, and where does future funding need to come in after that?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So first of all, the Keck Foundation had the same philosophy in some sense as the Keck Institute, and that is you invest to get something started, but you don't endow things to go forever. Okay, that's the same thing the Keck Institute does. It gets things launched, but then eventually you want to put them in a position so that they're self-sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
So the Keck the Keck grant was for $24 million, okay, over 8 years, and so part of that was for a building, and you see the building across the in the center.
Is that a new construction or
Yes.
is that a renovation?
No, brand new.
What
Right.
was something there?
No, well, you can.
Well, there was the, I would say the garage where Oppenheimer slept for months, and it was torn down within days of it turning 50, so that it did not become a heritage site.
Okay.
Did you
Just
ever
in the
go
nick
over
of
that?
time. I don't think so.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
Yeah.
Oh, people were pissed.
Yeah.
So-
So the project manager from campus who was managing the overall construction, she found out that this was going to become possibly, people were starting to push to become a historical site, and
for just this rundown POS,
But because Oppenheimer hung out
right?
there.
Right.
It's
Okay.
just a small garage, right?
probably it's done there for many years after the garage was torn down. Street View still had the garage, and I probably have a picture of it. But in any case, she found out about this, and literally, I think within less than 3 days, it was gone. The garage.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tolman Bacher was conceptualized to be part of KISS from the beginning? Did you claim this as your own?
there's
This
a
is
whole
way
history.
down the line.
There's the itinerant.
What is
Keck
Tolman
Institute.
Bacher at this point? Is
What's
it
that?
called that? Is this?
Oh,
how it's
it was always
now?
called Tolman Bacher.
Yeah, but biology had it.
Biology had this.
Yeah, it was a house for VIP guests.
Yeah.
Like Pat Beckman would stay here.
Okay.
It was a house.
It was a house.
Yeah.
Sure, it was a house. Of
Yeah.
course. Right.
That
Yeah.
was the kitchen.
Yeah.
The asteroid belt was the kitchen.
Ah.
So-
Yeah, and it, certainly when we got it though, it had not been taken care of.
Right.
There had been a blue tarp on the roof, and I know I'm exaggerating, for 10 years.
Yeah. So by the way, there's a whole history of the early years of the Keck Institute where we weren't here.
Where were you?
Oh my God! Let's see. We were in Downs laboratory we were on one level, then we were moved to a different level. So that was just moving everything, Then we moved to Keith Spalding. Then we moved to Milliken first. Then Keith Spalding.
Oh yeah, right.
Then here. So this was the 5th move in 5 years.
Yeah. I'd have to go back. Yeah,
Wow.
we
Yeah.
were moving just about every year.
And the staff is just you? Who else is there in the early years?
So
Janet came in
No.
before.
No, 2013 Janet came.
Yeah.
She came in December 2013.
Yeah.
So we were 5 years in. So it started off with me.
Yeah.
Actually, it probably started with Tama.
And your title is
So-
executive director from the beginning?
No, is managing director.
Managing director.
we had the job ad was for an executive director.
You couldn't get that approved?
Nope.
HR job titles are. Yeah. There. You eventually have to.
Did you have director in your title at JPL? I'm asking because
No, I didn't have director in my title at JPL.
you were sensitive to, like you were saying, Michele was underutilized. You
Yes.
wanted this to be very clearly not a lateral move. You wanted to demonstrate that this was.
No, this was an executive director position
Yeah.
from the actual from the proposal.
Yeah.
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 But I didn't have a PhD.
Pay bump as well?
Yes.
How many other staff members?
There were none.
Just you?
So I have to go back because Patama was probably the first one involved, Patama Tuisa, because she was the grants administrator that in engineering and applied sciences brought the money into a bucket. So I would say even she wasn't paid by KISS at all, but she was the first one brought into the bucket. But I was the first one paid by KISS, and then it was a combination. No, it had to be Minerva Calderon because she did the website.
Right.
I mean, well, she didn't have the website, but she was the computer support. And then it was the first admin was Paula.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was me for a while by myself.
Was the $24 million not usable for a building? I'm trying to square, how are you itinerants for 5 years and you have $24 million?
Yeah.
How come you're not breaking ground on day 2?
So there was always a part of the budget that was off limits to the Keck Institute itself, okay, which was to build a new building.
It was to renovate a building.
Renovate a building.
Why do you say that?
Because it was to
Why do you say that's
renovate
off limits?
Firestone.
Either build or renovate, yeah. Michelle's absolutely
When you
right.
say off limits, what does that mean?
In other words, that wasn't something that we could actually just decide to do, right? We don't own any real estate on campus. So pretty much we have to work with the provost
Yeah.
to try to...
And this is Ed Stolper at this time?
Yes.
Is Ed sympathetic to finding new space, to breaking new ground, to renovating?
You saw us laughing.
The answer is no.
The answer is yes, but if you know Ed, Ed had his own ideas.
And what were they?
And, well,
what did
they
he
changed.
communicate? They changed.
Yeah, they changed quite a bit. So why'd you go?
No, I just say that when I was first brought on, it was always, as I understood it, targeted to redo Firestone and have Firestone, 2 floors of Firestone be the Keck Institute.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, right.
And this would relocate EAS faculty, or what were those 2 floors? These are labs?
Yeah, they're mostly faculty offices.
There were faculty offices, there was a lecture hall, which would have worked for our plenary stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there were so many go-arounds, but...
Yeah, but that was the original intent, as written, was to renovate Firestone.
Would it be useful for you to have the original proposal?
Of course.
Okay, I'll send the original proposal to you. I won't send the budget because budgets have salaries and things in them. But I'll send you the proposal.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go to the daily grind now. So you're here.
Yep.
What's the game plan?
The
What do you
game plan
need
is
to do?
first, I don't have an office anywhere.
Yeah.
I end up going to engineering applied sciences and the communications group led by Marianne Epaulet, who is now the division operating officer for EAS, was like, well, stay with us till they get you an office. And so I hung out there for a little bit. We got Downs to start because Firestone was full of people. And so Downs was largely,
and
I won't say abandoned, but Cahill was
not built yet, right?
Not yet built.
Right. But partially why. Now I'm not going to speak here, but I think
but we were given a floor in Downs.
Yeah. Right.
So we just did the best we could. We borrowed when we had our first studies. We were borrowing space from all of the divisions because really it was just me in the basement. And we were just trying to start up the institute. And so we were just going to whichever division was the division that was having the first study, we would try to work with the space that they provided space for us. So
Yeah, perhaps some perspective, and this is
Please.
my own perspective, but you can certainly give your perspective, is that although the administration, Jean-Louis Chameau, Ed Stone,
Ed Stolper.
huh?
Ed Stolper?
No, not Ed Stolper yet.
Okay.
Okay, but Ed Stone and Jean-Louis Chameau, and sort of, at the high level, were interested in making this work.
What is Ed Stone's position at this point?
He is he's on the board of the Keck Foundation and
Right.
very influential in the Keck Foundation, right? I think you know that.
Of course.
And then also the trustee Ken Kresser
Uh-huh.
was also very influential. Okay,
And wasn't Ed the VP of Special Projects or something, or
Pardon me?
was Ed the VP of Special, the Caltech Vice President
Yeah,
of
he
Special
might have
Projects?
been by that time.
I'm not sure. You'd have to look into
Yeah, I'd
when
have to
he
look
was
into that,
that,
but in case, Ed was very influential on the board of the Keck Foundation. Ken Kresser was. Okay, so he was always an advocate. Jean-Louis Chameau inherited the advocacy from David Baltimore. Okay, so those three plus myself went to Robert Day's office to close the deal.
Who's Robert Day?
He's the head of the Keck Foundation.
Okay.
So he's part of the Keck family.
family.
And this is to close the deal, meaning this is where he writes the check for $24 million or something like that.
Maybe I told you that story.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
that's a good story.
Oh, okay. So we go there.
Yeah.
I'm the one.
Where are the offices? In LA?
It's up on the top floor of one of the big towers. in
Okay.
LA. Okay. So we go there. I'm the one who actually presents, right? And Ed and Jean-Louis Chameau and Ken Kresser are there. And I give the presentation. Robert Day is kind of a person that at least I found hard to read. Okay, so I give the presentation. Can't really tell, much about what he thought about.
Is he involved in the science philanthropy world at all? Is this a new
he's head
thing
of the
for
Keck
him?
Foundation, right?
Yeah, but with science specifically.
He's not a scientist, but he's certainly the Keck Foundation funds a whole lot of science. They fund, Sesame Street and lots of things, right? So he's a very intelligent fellow. Okay, so we're done there, and then we're in some kind of outer office. I can't remember. But then Robert Day says, come on in, and we go to the back office. And he shows us a model of a ship that he was very proud of. That's in his office. A couple other things, and then we leave. And then I say to Ed, how do you think that went? He said, when we got back into the inner office, we knew we had closed the deal.
Okay.
So that was the signal, but I couldn't read that at all. No.
Okay.
No way of me reading that. Okay. So that's a little anecdote.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but how the funding works is you don't get a check for $24 million.
Yeah.
You get a check for $3 million for 8 years.
Yeah.
With the vow, it's renewable annually.
So pretty much the first 3 years were assured in case, unless we had done something so egregious that they would have to just reconsider. But the first decision point was 3 years in. And I believe Tom, come in on this, was at least the first program would have been through the study phase and 2 years of the do phase. And so that would be a point to just check in, see how we're doing. And if it sucked and it's an experiment.
Yeah.
But if it had failed, that was the first real, okay, thank you all for coming. Pull the plug.
Yeah. And so fast forwarding 3 years, then I gave a presentation to the board. And Ken Kresser was there, Ed Stone was there, Ed Stolper was there. And it was just a very short presentation, and Ed Stolper, who is usually very critical, afterwards said that was just absolutely
Wow, right.
And so that then sealed the deal for the rest of the time.
What?
But going back, actually, I was saying, here's the top level of Caltech, favorable to this. At the division level, no, not necessarily.
I did, yes.
Like territorial issues, like this is something that's going to cramp our style?
I believe
This is, what is this all about? Caltech funds projects to do things, and here we are enabling institution, something totally foreign.
it even was at the point, where faculty were just saying, division chairs were just saying, just give us the money. We've got great ideas. We don't need anything else. This money should be coming to us, not some foofy institute that is going to bring people together and kumbaya and the money just gets to, whoever, no.
And please.
Let's fast forward though again to something like 3 or 4 years forward, where Ed Stolper is now evaluating whether or not this is a good thing for Caltech, right?
Okay.
For the campus.
Right.
Well, for Caltech.
And it may or may not have been before the board meeting.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Don't know where it was,
I don't remember where it was.
But he gathered the faculty together. Okay, so this is now 3 years in. Or 4
Or
years
more.
in.
It might have actually been after that.
It could have
I
been
think.
after
Yeah.
that. We were not invited. Okay, he wanted to have a discussion. How does the faculty see this? And one of my good friends, faculty member here, said he later he said, that was the I've never seen a faculty meeting like that. He said, not one person had a negative thing to say about the Keck Institute. He said, every single one was positive. That doesn't happen with Caltech faculty.
So this is after 3 years, just people see
It
the
could have
light?
been longer. It could have been 5, because it might have been at the point where they were deciding whether they needed to do a big fundraising event to keep us going.
Maybe,
I don't remember. It was somewhere.
Irrespective of Keck after 3 years, or this is part of it? 'Cause you
We
were
don't know. I don't remember when it actually happened, but it was after a good amount of faculty had been through KISS, and we were shocked and happy.
So really, the big story here is that for the first few years, this is like this either will work or it will not.
And there was we were
headwinds.
worried.
There were definitely headwinds in the divisions. Not every division, but
I was
engineering
worried.
applied science was good.
Yeah.
All right, so it's obvious why PMA and EAS would have strong opinions about KISS one way or the other, but this is sounding like people have strong opinions all over campus about this. This is not
It was
just
centered in GPS.
GPS,
Yeah.
the planetary science side of
Right.
GPS.
Yes.
What were the concerns? What are they saying?
I think I elaborated them. I think formally they said, what are we doing here? We should be using money to do things, not some kind of organization that would actually bring people together to talk about doing things.
Is that a messaging issue? Because you explained very clearly it's a think and a do. So
Yeah,
the
but
do
I
is
mean,
right there after the
what do we
think.
need JPL for?
But
Just give us the money.
Uh-huh.
We've got great ideas.
Uh-huh.
You just don't waste it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the counter? What are and just like in terms of a division of labor, both of you need to be responsive to this.
Right.
Are you the one? Are you who's the one who's like?
Let me just say, we were together, and at one point in GPS in a meeting, Tom had to physically put his hand on my leg to keep me from coming up over the desk.
This was not improper.
No. This was, I
This is
didn't even think
restraint.
of that, but this was just a restraining, please let me help you keep your job type of I don't know.
It was tough going.
And in the middle of all of this,
But by the way, a little bit of background here. Geology and planetary science has always been a division where it's centered around the research of each individual group. That's what they support. So here's an organization that comes in. It's nothing like that. Totally foreign. And so I think that's why in GPS that.
so the complicating factor on top of everything else is that you have these grandiose ideas. you're facing these headwinds, but you're also sort of like a traveling roadshow on campus. You don't yet have the gravitas of a building to say, here is now what we will accomplish.
Right.
So that must have made things even more difficult.
Right. So when did we move into the library?
No, I have to look back.
So on our itinerant road trip, we did eventually get to
Sixth floor.
the sixth floor of the library. And that was, well, why don't you describe
Yeah,
it?
so for me, that was a moment where I felt like we had a home. I never felt that either of the downs was a home for us. I just felt again like this, okay, you're migrating, we gotta find a home. But the feeling of the sixth floor, and it was all of these office spaces that had windows and some cramped central area and a lounge area on the other side. We could fit 30 people in. It was, man, we forced 30 people in, and for our plenary sessions. But that was at the point where I and I believe Tom started thinking about, this is a model that we could use, and if we could stay here, we could make this work. Mm-hmm. I never felt that about Downs, but I felt, if we could get this space, we could be Kiss Forever right there. I felt.
Yeah, that's the first place that the vision clicked, because we had the physical space to make it work.
Was that attractive because you would not have to divert huge amounts of funds to a building? Was that good also?
It was helpful, but that really wasn't the key. The key was we had office spaces that people used. And we put 3 people, and we actually did a lot of time thinking about, which 3 people should we put in each room? What are we trying to accomplish with forcing these people into shared office space, right? So that was part of it. Then it was, we didn't have to borrow from any other division. We actually had space for our 30 people to be right next door to the plenary sessions. And I mean, it was where things just started to gel.
Yep.
Things started happening, I would say.
Yep,
Just
definitely.
the environment. And that's when we started understanding the importance of the environment, because it was, you'd look out from the 6th floor and you'd see these amazing mountains, and you felt inspired being up there. You felt, wow, this is a special place to be. You never felt like you were a special place to be if you were Downs. But this was a special place to be, and you were lucky to be there. Mm-hmm. And the environment that we created there, I felt like we covered every single bit of white space with paper, so that you could just write your ideas anytime that you had ideas. We just had white paper everywhere. We did poster sessions along the wall, so then we knew that was something we wanted to do as well. So,
yeah. By the way, also just skipping back a bit, over this time, our idea of what the Keck Institute could be was evolving.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Tom, are you back from JPL now, or
yes.
you still
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
How fully? I want to hear the answer to this, to what you're about to say, but your day to day as a Caltech professor, how fully invested are you in the building mode of KISS? Are you checking in with Michele because she's doing all of this and you're providing oversight, or is this like really a daily partnership for you?
I think I would say daily. In the formative times,
we were, I say, joined at the hip for the first
and also
2 years.
Probably I was trying to get my research going again on campus, but the Keck Institute was at least half time.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we're in this certain time, we're developing new ideas and so forth. Also, even before this, it was interesting. I'll just tell a little anecdote. And that I went around to various places to try to see what other people had done that might have been a model for the Keck Institute. I think we may have discussed this a little bit in the previous interview, but there was Jason's, which is one model, but also the Kavli Institute for Theoretical Physics.
Right.
And one thing that stuck with me, the Kavli Institute is, maybe I even mentioned this, is that talk to people about the beginnings of the Kavli Institute, and they said, and they sort of just started to be wistfully thinking about that instead of the Kavli Institute itself now, which is this triangular large building, they were all up on a single floor of one building. And they sort of looked back on that wistfully, and they said, that was so nice because we're all kind of together.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because we almost duplicated that. Almost.
At the Milliken. In Milliken.
Yeah. Is that we were all on one floor and everything just gelled.
So for those,
and like people were going from room to room, and people could hear what was going on in the separate like office spaces, and then somebody would pop in and they said, sorry, I just couldn't help it overhearing. You may want to think about XYZ. And then the whiteboards were up and the pens were coming out, and it was it was like, okay, this is what we want.
That's very Jason-like.
Yeah.
Because Jason were 2 to 3 people per office.
Right.
And there's one long hallway, and everybody just pops in and out. So it was finally a location where we could actually carry out what I think.
All right, so I want to capture the formative years before going up to the 6th floor of the Milliken Library. Tom used the metaphor joined at the hip. What was your day-to-day like in building mode? What was consuming your time?
So having done my own business, I knew the importance of startup. And we had to get the word out. We had to make sure people knew we were around. So starting up the website, getting things going with that. We already knew the 3 initial programs. They were fed into the process, right? So we already knew the first 3.
What are the programs?
The programs were Sergio Pellegrino's large detectors.
I forget.
I can look them up, but it was large detectors. It was the Mars, geochronology one, and then it was Tony Reedhead's study. So those were the.
And this is you're getting the word out. Bring your ideas to us, and these are the 3 winners.
So first, no, because in the proposal itself, these 3 were already pre-awarded.
In the original proposal.
Yeah, the original proposal.
They started off saying the faculty and JPL have put forth some ideas. Here are the 3 we're going to start with, but here's a whole list of other ones.
Did the faculty and JPLers put forward these ideas thinking that ultimately there would be a KISS to support it?
Yes.
Okay. So does this predate even you?
No, this no, this was during the process that I led to put the large proposal together. We thought, well, we should have some real examples of the type of studies that we would undertake. With the Keck Institute.
Okay. So this is an important detail. So there's an idea to have this Caltech JPL partnership, and then obviously you need to be amenable to what are some ideas that we can use to show Keck. Here's the kind of thing we can accomplish with this. How? And you're not. This is too early for you.
No,
and
in fact, Tom, just to go back, when Andy was leading the original idea, there were when you inherited it from Andy. Once they decided, this is
who's
great. Andy Ingersoll, was the chair of the original thing
the
from
faculty JPL committee.
Okay.
Right, that Baltimore had commissioned.
Okay.
So they came up with the idea. Tom, you were on that committee though, right?
I was on that committee,
So Tom was on the committee.
Already in a leadership role, or just
No, because Andy was leading it.
Chair.
So then, I
was chief scientist at JP. I had just been chief scientist, so I had a sort of a fulcrum position of knowing both sides.
Right.
And so then, at the point that they're like, okay, we are at the point where this is a go, and a full proposal must now be written based on this. these ideas and this think tank. Now we need to write a full proposal. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah, well, there's an intermediate proposal in there. And
Okay.
I'll send you that too.
Yeah.
If I can.
I've never seen that one, so.
Was Sergio's proposal at all related to the solar space project?
Not
It was.
at that
I think it
point.
was large space structures. Now that I think about it, it was large space structures.
So, you know, he had, you know, he was into large space structure, but not necessarily solar power yet.
Okay, so to go back to the day-to-day question in building mode, you had these 3 projects as an anchor point.
Right. So we
Right.
knew. So I come in August, and we're
2008.
Yes, and
2008.
now we are ramping up to do those 3 studies. We are also working on the website, trying to get that out. We have to have a call in October for the
Right.
next year.
For the next year.
So we have to develop the call.
You barely got this
So-
year started.
So,
you gotta
yeah,
think about
I
next
mean,
year.
we didn't even get it started. We just
Right.
had to get the next year started already.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so the macroeconomic backdrop here is the financial crisis of 08, 09. Does this register? Are the checks already written so you're safe?
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
This is
no,
no
this is
concern to
fine.
us.
Yeah. No,
So.
that was not a factor.
Yeah, and I think because Tom was successful, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, Tom, you can tell me, but because we were starting so late in the year, like I didn't come in until August, that we started using that first year as the money, banking the money for the renovation. Because at the time we knew we were going to be
Well,
renovated.
Yeah, well, indeed, a chunk of the initial funding, because we weren't fully up and running the first year, when we banked it for this dedicated, I think it was $3 million that eventually went for the renovation. So.
Okay, so these 3 projects, do they come in with their own funding and KISS is there to provide the whiteboard, to provide the spark?
There's no funding that comes in for to KISS. Our funding is Keck Foundation. These 3 people have their ideas, or their 3 partners, JPL Caltech partners. So they know what they want to do, okay? And so then it is KISS funds the workshop, it funds the food, the space, the poster session, the short course, the this, the that. We
Okay.
do all
They
the
didn't even have a short
administrative.
course at that time, did they?
So for
Yeah,
example,
I don't think we had one yet.
Sergio is not a PI of an NSF funded project that now comes to KISS with something.
No,
This is
because
all.
that would not be a KISS thing.
That would not be a KISS thing. Right, okay.
This would be.
I'm getting it now.
Let's say in Sergio case, how, first of all, you know, new ideas for the technology of large space structures and also applications of large space structures.
And they are all, so these 3 projects are already set to articulate, here are Caltech and here are JPL capabilities. And in order for this to work, they need to be merged and they need to be nurtured in this institution. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there
What a
was
great idea.
yeah, and there was there was involvement of other institutions, or like DoD came to his, and other academic partners came as well. But that was not the focus in the very beginning. It was very much JPL campus centric, where we did bring in other people, but really.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly when we eventually had 3 co-leads, one from campus, one from JPL, one from external. I forget.
We can look, but it became clear to Tom and I, at least, and to the steering committee once we brought it up, that ideas, I want to say this in a nice way, but ideas that you want to actually have happen in the real world need to have external support from external communities. You can't just do your own mission anymore. You can't just do that. You need to have, if you're doing, a mission that has to do with earth science, you should have earth scientists from other places come in and poke and prod and put in their ideas.
This is also an acknowledgement that science is now big science. That's part of it as well.
I guess I'm not. I just know that
I don't
we
think
felt.
I wouldn't have
yeah.
called that a thing. But.
Yeah, I just think we felt that, we needed to do things a little differently. And then Tom stood up the external advisory committee he decided to have a committee of external people come in and
External to Caltech and
external
JPL.
to Caltech and JPL.
Like who? What kinds of people?
External to campus and JPL.
Thank you
Yes,
very
right,
much.
yeah.
Forgive me.
That's okay. Well, it took me a while.
Like who? Who would
I'm
you-
still fighting with it.
Who would you have come in?
Well, Lars Bilston, who was director of the
KITP.
KITP.
Okay,
And
all right.
worked with me as a postdoc, for instance.
Sure.
Somebody like
Or
Julia Knott, who is a world pioneer in ballooning,
Yeah.
right? But more importantly than that, a big thinker.
Yeah.
Somebody who thought past, what is a study? What could something actually be?
Yeah.
So there are people that we felt added from all the different disciplines that could really look and see what is the possibility of having external involvement amplified in the actual studies. And they were the ones that said you should have an external lead.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
one
I
of their
think that's
recommendations
good, yeah.
coming out was
Yeah.
have an external lead. Let's review how many external people are involved, and if you really want the external community to be included, then you need to do this type of thing. So
Where are the trustees in all of this? I'm thinking, for example, like a Charlie Trimble, who loves to go and visit labs, loves to see if he could generate support for ideas that are, way too undeveloped to be funded, but are deserving of to be nurtured. Are the trustees excited by this? Do they want to get involved? Is this part of their orbit?
I don't even think it's on there
No, they're
Radar.
basically not much on the radar screen.
Huh.
because it's funded by KISS. It's funded by the Keck Foundation, I mean. So it was largely a Keck Foundation for 8 years.
Ken Cressa, as a board of trustees member,
Yeah.
was very much involved.
But you're not like presenting at board
No, not
meetings
at
or
all.
anything like that.
I think we may have had one presentation to the board of trustees, but I don't.
But this is not a major factor.
This is not a factor.
Okay, so in the itinerant years,
But by the way,
Yeah.
going back, to some extent, there's this backdrop of this is an experiment. We've asked the Keck Foundation to do this, but it's kind of we don't know about it yet, right?
Mhm.
So, and then the acceptance, which eventually was very well accepted across campus. That's a gradual process. There were markers in there, like this faculty meeting, but I think probably maybe it wasn't exposed that much to the board of trustees because nobody knew what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
So
in these itinerant years, you have these 3 anchor programs from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Are the spaces that you have, the basement here, the closet here, whatever it is, are they providing even a modicum of infrastructure for what these collaborations want to do? Or is the whole prehistory to getting up to the 6th floor you both saying we need proper space to host the people to do the thing that we want them to do?
yeah, well, so
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
The answer is yes.
Right. Also, the other thing is, the Keck Institute has always provided space for the people to come together for a limited period of time. Okay, but how they then collaborate outside of those times, they're in their own spaces primarily. They might come and visit, like especially once we have an actual home, a facility like this. They would come, visit, sit down, interact with people, but a lot of the interaction outside of the actual workshops takes place in their own venues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a graduate student, junior scientist, engineer at JPL? Is there a generational mentoring component to this as well? Is KISS interested in graduate fellowships or in making sure that, for example, a Caltech professor's research group is going to be integrated into the project? What does KISS think about, from the young person's perspective.
Yeah,
on
so
this.
KISS started out, part of the original proposal was that we would have prize postdoctoral fellowships where it would be a competition between any person anywhere in the world could apply to do world-class science or technology development. And so those were the prize postdoctoral fellowships, and we would have 2 or 3 a year. And then we had graduate student fellowships. Some were, I will let Tom talk about how that happened, but EAS was able to secure 4 graduate students a year as part of the GALCIT program for graduate students. So those were 4 graduate students that were absolutely penned into the proposal that they would get 4 graduate students for their GALCIT program every year for 8 years. So, and then we transitioned also to having some graduate student fellowships that were had to do with technical development programs. Once that they were funded, here's the idea. Here's where we I hear you. Here's where we start the study program. When the faculty member gets funded to do the technology development, there was almost always a graduate student or 2 that would be funded out of that. So then we had them as graduate student fellows as well. So
how did GPS finally come around?
I'll leave that for Tom.
Okay.
For us to talk together. So.
Were you making the case that you needed proper space?
We were always making the case, but I will, in all honesty, when you are starting up an institute from nothing, you try lots and lots of different things. What sticks, what doesn't stick, what works, what doesn't work. And so you have to, it's like kind of wandering around in the dark till, there's a little light. We're hanging on to that light. We're going to keep that. Oh, there's something else that's working. And then kind of building it all into this inculcation of all these different ideas that, okay, we knew that we had something once we got to Millikan. That was just that very first feeling of, we've got something. And I honestly think that's where I started breathing. I finally felt like, okay, we're being taken seriously. We're given this beautiful space. The space is inspiring. It works very well. The combination of this space with the Athenaeum for meals, where that is also just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no other faculty/private club anywhere that people coming to a study would ever have access to. That is the Athenaeum. That is absolutely some of the locations of some of the best ideas written. That you have a glass of wine, you're 3 days in. Tom can talk you through the magic of KISS, but 3 days into the study is when things finally start coming together. Because when you come, you're all competing with each other about your ideas and about what you want to do. But when you all come up with something together, and you start trusting each other,
that's
and
where
you
the
start
magic
talking,
happens.
and that's when the magic happens.
Are you leaning on your JPL contacts at all in the early
all
years?
the entire time.
What's the kind of thing where you would, make a phone call to a trusted old colleague? What's the kind of issue that would be relevant for you?
Well, I mean, so for instance, a lot of times we would be in a study and somebody'd say, wow, we really need somebody who's a dark matter expert. We didn't actually think it would apply at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I would call up Leonidas Moustakis and I'd say, hey, Lexi, could you pop over here for half an hour or meet us for drinks? Or meet us, we want to have a little tiny session on how dark matter could be affected if we did this, or how you could use this technology for that, And so because I knew I won't say every scientist. I knew even I knew the ones in 32. I knew 33. I knew all of 32. I knew some of the 33s. I knew the 38 was all instruments, so I knew a ton of people in the instrument division. And so if we had any, I could just make a call and they would come for me.
So the question was the extent to which Michele was able to leverage
Yep.
JPL context, and the answer is in a big way.
Yeah.
All right, so this is probably a good narrative break for next time. Like this is, you go to Milliken, 6th floor, KISS really gets going at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe we can, go ahead.
If I can just make one more
Please.
statement, because going to the bathroom always,
makes room for ideas.
So I think that one perspective here, and it also relates to what Michele brought to the Keck Institute, is that my original concept was just to appoint leads, bring them together, but then the leads would be the ones that really determine how things would work.
Sure.
Okay. And so in some sense, the institute then would provide the space, okay, the venue, the organization. What Michele brought to this, though, was much more of this, of the personal interactions and the techniques that you use to bring people closer together. Okay, I was just going to let it happen, just bring people together, have them discuss and so forth, and that's what Michele brought. So,
the question that Michele,
that's real important.
Of course,
because that's the difference between me sort of theoretically thinking about it, and Michele knowing how to do it in absolutely great way.
So the question that Michele deflected to you was when and how GPS got on board or realized that they just needed to.
Oh, I think they actually got on board.
They did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, did you feel like, the reason I was waiting for him, did you feel like it was Ken Farley's involvement in the geochronology study?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would say.
The division chair.
Yeah. Was Ken part of the original 3? Was he informing the geochronology study?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. It was Dan McLeese.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember who the campus person was.
John
in my
Eiler?
mind, it might have been John Eiler.
It was John Eiler. Yeah. But then Ken Farley, who actually was one of the headwinds, thought up an idea for how to. Michelle's saying something there, but thought up the idea about how to date rocks in situ on Mars with the current stuff that was on its way to Mars.
And everyone can now play nicely together. Now KISS has a place for GPS where it's not a territorial thing.
I don't think it changed that quickly, but that's if you think about it from the perspective of new ideas. Here was a new idea that came out of a Keck Institute study that would not have come out otherwise. So it was an existence proof that there was more than just individual faculty working in their individual groups, which is very powerful.
Which decisively answers the question that the original division chairs and others were saying, we can do this on ourselves.
Right.
Oh, that's
and there's
so
no
important.
way they could have done that
That's
on their
so
own.
important.
And
we should develop that, though. Why could the geochronology one, why could this not have been a native GPS
But
program?
it wasn't even, sorry, I'm going to backtrack again. It wasn't even on the NASA roadmap. And that's the type of thing KISS wants to do. Not even on the roadmap, but a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you have somebody with an idea like that, and you have people at JPL who know every single part of that rover that you are trying to figure out how to reconfigure the software to reconfigure how the onboard laboratory will work, how you heat up something to a specific temperature, but you have to have this input from the rock sample to get to this temperature, but not, the entire process. There's no way a Caltech person would ever know that, or even conceive that it was possible.
And the other thing, which is just central to the Keck Institute, but sometimes not stated, is that everyone then there owns that idea.
Right.
They were there at the formation of that idea.
Right.
So all of a sudden now you have a natural advocacy group.
Yeah.
You say they don't feel, well, it's so and so's idea. It's our idea, and that's where some of the magic happens.
Okay. So we'll set the narrative for next time. Is GPS and the geochronology program as a symbol of this is for real now. KISS is really doing something that it said it was going to do. Is that at all related to securing the space in Milliken to allow all of this to happen? Are those
I would
separate?
say no. I think
That's just a happy
I think
convergence.
they're separate. I think they were separate.
I say, how do you analyze Ed Stolper's mind? I don't know.
But maybe no. But
No,
maybe
could have been.
maybe that this
Maybe.
was maybe this was the kind of thing, even if it's sort of a little voice in his head for saying, "KISS is for real. We need to give them real space." Maybe it's a question for Ed, but it seems to me that in terms of the substance and the chronology, there is some kind of a convergence here.
There's probably a number of things going on, including, Firestone now is still receding into the future, and that floor is opening up because the library, isn't as actively
Right.
used as it was. So it's probably a number of things going on. Probably then Ed Stolper put all those together and said, "Oh, that's a good place for them."
Okay, so the last question for today. Ed comes to you and says, "Would you like this amazing space?" Or do you realize it becomes available and you say to Ed, "Can we please have this space?"
I think it was Ed coming to us.
I certainly didn't know about the space,
Yeah.
so it's not like I went, "Ooh, this is coming available." You may have known it, but I certainly didn't.
Yeah. No, I think it must have been Ed coming to us.
And do you both have early memories of taking the elevator up there and looking around
Absolutely,
and going,
I do.
"Ah,
Yeah.
you did this?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was it. It spoke to you.
Yep.
You saw the
Yep.
mountains.
It wasn't
It
even
was
a-
all coming together.
yeah.
Let's pick up on that point next
Yep.
time. All right.